Hey guys, this episode is our first and we're very excited to share it with you. It's a very relevant and timely issue as we know President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela was in Trinidad and Tobago yesterday, Monday, and we're not sure what's going to come out of those talks with our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. I know they were supposedly meeting on energy and trade affairs, but whatever happens, in the meantime, we did go to the source with three guests, Venezuelan nationals living in T&T, to find out what's happening on the ground. So please enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of T&T Unpacked. We are your hosts, Rochelle Amore and Justin Collymore. In this episode, we will be unpacking the crisis in Venezuela and the impact that it has been having on Trinidad and Tobago. Today, we have not one, not two, but three guests who call themselves the Three Musketeers.
Yep.
We have Beatrice, Ruben, and Ruth, who will be giving us some insights and answering some questions on that whole situation. Unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that for the past few years, 3 years or so, there's been a heightening crisis in Venezuela's political and economic climate. There's been protests against President Maduro, and if you look online, there's tons of articles on the issue, but we invited our guests to give us some more intimate details about that whole situation.
As of a few days ago, CNN has described Venezuela's economy as being in meltdown mode. We understand that there is a state of emergency and it's on the verge of collapse. We don't know how true this is. Hopefully our guests will give us some insight. There have been electricity cuts, looting, reports of soldiers stealing goats for food, citizens hunting stray dogs and pigeons for meat. It goes on and on in terms of the lack of food availability. President Maduro blames the situation on the falling global oil prices and right-wing businessmen and politicians. However, the opposition says that he needs to go and they're pushing for a recall referendum. For people who may not be familiar with politics, like myself, a recall referendum just means that they're trying to hold an election to get him out of office before his time is up. So that's what's happening. And of course, this is all having a big effect on T&T. They're our neighbors. They're closer than Tobago. Anybody who lives in the West especially will see that there are a lot more Venezuelans visible coming into the country, and we just want to know what's happening with our neighbors. Unfortunately, the situation is sticky for our CARICOM politicians, so we're not sure what we're doing country to country, but our citizens, especially the three that we have with us in studio right now, have been making their efforts known. So we'll start off with Miss Beatrice Joseph. We know that you're an activist and you've been in the protests. You were at a protest against Maduro's visit here as a guest of one of the CARICOM meetings a couple of years ago. And you're also part of a group that gathers supplies to send back to Venezuela. Can you tell us a little bit more about that group and how that works?
Well, we're working on that. The name of the group is Ayuda Venezuela. It's through a friend of mine who actually has a Korea place. I can say the name. But we're trying to see the ways to do it from Venezuela to Trinidad because unfortunately it's a little hard. So it will be done through Miami to Venezuela. Right now we're trying to do it in a bigger, broader way where we could probably contact industries here like probably Bryden and Oscar Francois, people like that. They could, donate those things that they are so basic, and they don't have it in Venezuela, especially medicine. That is the main concern. So she made contact with the Red Cross in Venezuela and some hospitals in interior, and they are sending, different type of things they need in order for us to supply. But this is where we are trying to get through with them right now. Because we're doing it, but not in a mere,
right.
in a
not on a big scale.
Exactly.
Right. So it's interesting that you said that medicine is really one of the key necessities. Because the New York Times, I think yesterday, published an article on dying infants and failing hospitals in Venezuela. Can you give us some more information on the state?
Well, yes, infant, because if they are in neonatal care, sometimes the lights go. And then what you do with the incubators, and then they don't have the necessity. Actually, somebody sent me today actually a medicine that they need for a child who has been born, and they need that. It's very urgently, and they can't find it in Venezuela. So, the bill rate is very high, even though, the government denied. They say it's not. But yes.
How big are the groups that generally, consist of these people that are sending supplies back? Like, how big is that operation in Trinidad?
It's not so big because we don't want it so big because
Right.
then will be too much.
Too much coordination, right?
Correct. So, but we will try to make it as big as possible when we really get well organized and support group or whatever, whoever we get it. Because a lot of people are actually ask us, in what way I can help you? In what way can I send groceries or medicine or this and that? But we don't want to send it through. Other possibilities, like we say, well, we probably send a person monthly from Trinidad to Venezuela to carry things, But we had to try to get the contacts in Venezuela in order for us to do it. And every time we get avenues, something happens and they lock it.
Right.
That is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, do you think the media tries to make it seem as though the problem isn't that bad? Because, we all know about the crises happening in different parts of the world, but when it comes to Venezuela, it seems that a lot of what you hear is word of mouth. Like, you might hear your friends say, yeah, people send things back, but you don't, it's not something that seems to be as
No,
apparent.
because as I told the journalist from Newsday last week, you don't go to, well, obviously you will go to the source, which is the government. The government will deny that. So you need to contact the other part, which is the opposition. You need to do the job as a journalist. This is my point of view. You need to do the job, and in order for you to do the job, you have to get up and find the ways. So, sometimes I call the government, I call this, but they're not going to give you the right. You have to contact, actually, the opposition or somebody who could put you into the other, the other side of the story, because that's, the truth. So I told her, well, because I have to call my mother every single day, that is a commodity. I have to do it, and I have to do it because she's 85 years old. She's very strong still, and she's, thank God, have a strength. And as I told her, I mean, so far she's okay, but for how long she's going to be okay? Right. I had to be sending thyroid gland tablets, have pressure tablets. I mean, things, name it. It's something that many years ago she used to travel a lot, but she used to go to Cuba because precisely the same way too. And I used to be amazed to see what she used to carry in the suitcase, which is like erasers, nails and thread and batteries and radios and things that you say, why are you taking that for? Toothpaste, toothbrushes, soap. And she used to say, I had to take it because this is to help the people. They don't have that. Right. So I could never believe that I was going to be there doing that one day. Right. I mean, back to Venezuela to my people. I mean, they had to write me, I don't have no more shampoo. Can you please send me shampoo? Could you imagine something like that? People actually taking the soap that they, well, if they find it because they don't have any more, they used to wash the dishes to wash the hair because they don't have shampoo. Deodorant, they don't have the deodorant at all.
Yeah, because I imagine there's, obviously there's going to be people that don't have anyone to send them supplies.
Correct,
so,
correct.
What do they have? They have no
correct.
other options.
And also I had to tell my mother to be very careful not to let people know that I'm sending things for her because I'm away. Because then will be, and somebody might be able to, to bribe her or extortion her, something like that, being an old lady,
It's true. On the flip side of things, you were saying that the government is being, obviously they're trying to make themselves look good when it comes to journalists and, the story that they tell. But on the flip side, and maybe Ruth could take this one, the Venezuelan ambassador in T&T recently said
that everything is perfect.
She said that the news reports, particularly probably in the U.S., because, they have a reputation in U.S. media outlets, are blowing things out of proportion and only focusing on the negative aspects of the situation. How true, is there any truth to that statement in your opinion?
The problem with these people, like the ambassador, she doesn't have any other way if not defend the government. But it's not blowing it out of proportion. It's reality. This is going on. It's the same as the Minister of Health in Venezuela, who she was blaming because we didn't have medicines over there. You know what was the answer? Is that people are consuming too much medicine. Really. And you can go...
And that's the reason why we don't have water or light.
You understand? So you can go and get that. These are the answers. They cannot never ever say, oh, well, the government is not doing it right. Because from the moment they say that, they just fire. But it is like that. They have to defend what they have. Imagine if they say something contrary, opposite. to the government. That is why she's saying that.
Right.
It's not that I'm defending or justifying what she's saying, because she has to survive. She has to, to keep a job.
Right.
Because out of it, they have nothing.
She's representing her government.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is it.
I have a question for Ruben. Beatrice, you mentioned that there's also no water, no lights. We keep hearing that 2 days a week that people are working in Venezuela right now because of the electricity crisis. Is that true? Is that accurate? And how is that working out?
Well, I'm not sure whether it's 2 days a week. I know that the government has reduced the work week to 4 days a week.
Right, okay.
Now, the electricity crisis is due to the fact that Venezuela has one single source of power supply. It's essentially the Represa del Guri. Guri supplies 60% of the power consumed in Venezuela. The remaining 40% is supplied by thermal generation. They have different plants located at different parts of the country.
Right.
So we have had a change in climate. Precipitation, rain has become scarce, and therefore the levels of our dam in Guri has dropped to historical lows. And that is one of the reasons why we have the crisis. So
Right.
it's essentially the energy generation mix has changed, has shifted from more thermal to less hydro.
Right.
And you have through 3 lines coming out of Guri. One is the 800 line, the 500 line, and the 250 line.
Right.
And these lines have been poorly maintained over the last 20 years, since 1999. From 1999, the whole electrical sector, the whole electricity industry, the whole power generation industry has been poorly maintained,
Right.
because it has been in the hands of the government. And therefore, if you have combined that with the issue that you've had very low water levels at your dam, then you will have a crisis. So there's no secret to that. They
Right,
can't
they
even
need-
start the turbines
Exactly.
because the water levels are too low.
Yeah. And if they stop, they have to wait a week.
The problem is not stopping just there. Okay, there's no maintenance, proper maintenance. The water, right?
Yeah.
It drop. But you know what is really the problem here? They don't know what to do. That is the thing, that these people are not really being trained to solve this humongous task.
Right.
So how you solve something like that? But they are not going to ask for people in the opposition to help
Oh,
them out.
no, they don't have technocrats.
They
They don't
prepare-
have the people with the resources of the
At all.
intelligence. It's, a common man you just take and put in a position because, he defend the revolution. So that's how in more than 17 years, the whole country had crumbled.
Yeah.
Because the people in PDVSA, which was actually the pride of Venezuela, they fired 25,000 people from the oil company at the beginning. And people who I know used to work in the oil companies, people who has a position, they said, you don't have a clue because you have to maintain all the oil fields. And when those oil fields are not being treated, they cease. I mean, you lose that. That is what happened. And they says they destroy the whole.
Beatriz has indicated something that is very, very true. Venezuela's oil production in 1998, 1999 was approximately 3.5 million barrels per day. Now Venezuela's oil production is 2.5 million barrels. So the oil production of Venezuela has dropped almost 30% of what it was.
Wow.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break from the podcast to let you know that if you are interested in being featured or would like to advertise with us, you can reach us at unpackedmedia@gmail.com, and you can also find us on social media. Back to the show.
Just to go back quickly about the dam and the water.
That was the biggest dam.
It serves 60% of the power needs of the
That's to tell you
country.
how big
Wow.
it is. It's the biggest state in Venezuela, Bolivar State. Precious stones and iron and anything that you call is there.
So everything that's happening production-wise and money-wise is now basically shut down because of the electricity and water issues.
No,
not
really.
necessarily so.
No.
Let me just add that what has happened is that when you keep an exchange rate controlled for X number of years, your manufacturing sector becomes it's not properly prepared to compete. One of the advantages that Venezuela had in the 80s and the early 90s was that we kept moving our exchange rate bands to allow our products to be competitive in outside markets. When we decided to keep a fixed exchange rate, what did we do? We just transformed the country from a manufacturing or having a strong manufacturing sector to a country that had to basically import everything because now your products are no longer competitive.
I was having a conversation with someone who said that there's an official exchange rate in Venezuela, but there's also unofficial exchange rates, like black market exchange rates. Is there any truth to this? And
Yes, we went from a bolivar, which was it was 2.4, almost 3,000 bolivars per US dollar
Right.
in 2006 or 2007, to the Bolivar Fuerte, where we took away 3 zeros.
right.
So the Bolivar Fuerte now was 3.4 or 4 bolivars per US dollar. Now, you cannot get the Bolivar Fuerte at 4 bolivars per US dollar. You have to pay 1,000 or 1,100 bolívares fuertes per every US dollar, which means that the exchange rate went from 2,400 bolívares to 1.1 million bolívares.
So let me just ask for everybody like me who has no clue about exchange rates or math. How many bolivares is a loaf of bread? An estimate.
If you find it,
I cannot tell you right now.
1,500.
But it's,
1,500.
1,000.
Okay.
So that would be 1,000,000 bolívares of the old bolívares.
Yes. And will be 100 US because 1,000.
A kilogram of beef or
One
chicken
US.
is 3,500 equivalent to titimon.
Wait, what? Say that over.
Meat
Uh-huh.
or chicken, the kilogram of that is right now 3,500.
TT?
Equivalent to that.
Yes.
So imagine you have to pay that amount of money
That's
for
madness.
that. That's madness. Exactly. That's what we're saying.
How are people surviving?
They're surviving.
It's really puzzling to us.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Some Venezuelans will have accounts overseas, and they would sell their dollars in the black market.
Right.
Others who are tied with the government would have access to preferential dollars, which they will then sell in the black market. And obviously, those who don't have access to foreign exchange, we call them bachaqueros. These are street vendors who go to the stores. The government will sell the food,
Right.
buy it at a subsidized price, and then sell it out on the street at 3 times the amount.
Out in the street, literally in the corner, right there, vendors. That is how they sell the products. That is it. They just take it from those companies, from the subsidized ones, and they go into the streets like vendors, and they will sell it to you 3, 4 times, 5 times.
And the
its value.
government know that.
It's like black markets in the streets.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
And the government know that, but they blame, obviously, the opposition. They got about a few weeks ago when we have the Ecuador earthquake. I mean, obviously, it's a humanitarian crisis. You help your brother because Venezuela has always been like that, or fortunately and unfortunately. Now we need the help, and nobody remember Venezuela. That is the truth. But the government sent 3 Hercules planes. You know how big is they are, right? The Hercules plane, right?
No.
Those
What's
are
the
the-
Hercules plane?
C-130.
Right.
Okay.
Full of food, medicine, and water. That is a slap for the population of Venezuela.
I'm sorry. So just to clarify, there was an earthquake in Ecuador
Yes, a month ago.
a month ago, and the Venezuelan government that now is struggling to feed its own people
Exactly.
sent 3 airplanes which seats 130 people each full of food,
medicine.
medicine, and water to Ecuador.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very generous spirit.
Oh, yes,
I have
yes,
to say
yes.
that's
Very generous, but
Very,
obviously
very generous.
it's a slap for the people in
Right,
Venezuela
of
because
course.
these people are there. I am telling you for experience. My sister is the only one retired. Well, it's my mother too, but she's not gonna put my mother to do a line in the street. My sister refused, but at the end she says, "What should I do? I am the only one who could go and buy food for the whole family because I am the only one who's not working." My sister sometimes have to go 3 o'clock in the morning, get a number, go back home to sleep until 6 o'clock to get up and go. That is the way how they chop. And her day is Tuesday because it's the ID card numbers that you use. So if you come by on Wednesday, well, too bad. And sometimes some of those people go to the supermarket and when they reach there, they don't have. They have to get whatever they get because they don't have. My niece works in a university in Caracas. My two nieces, actually, they went there and they work there also. And she never complained, but she says, I can't take anymore. My colleagues, which is middle class people, this is not to say poor people, they're middle class people. My colleagues who are teachers, who are people who work in the university, Simon Bolivar is a university that in Venezuela have reputation. That, by the way, the government don't supply no money, and last month they told her you can't get your salary. So she said, okay, no problem, no salary. So I have to send. So she said, I cannot see my colleagues eating rice alone because that's all they could eat. Or when that rice finished, because they can't find no more rice, then it's bread with mayonnaise because that's all they could. And then after that is whatever the students in university left. Forget it. Remember, whatever you leave, just gather for me and I'll eat. Or sometimes they don't have nothing to eat. I could tell you stories like that. Fortunately, my family is not in that bad position, but they don't tell me, not to make me worry. But sometimes they talk and they say like somebody came and fixed the light. And my sister openly said, well, I'm coming back. I'm going to see if I could get bread. And she said what caught his attention was the hunger phase the man have. And he actually, he just said, well, you're lucky you have bread. It hasn't had nothing for the day. So she has to come back and make something to eat for him. And my sister said, I have never see somebody eat like that. Probably he said he hasn't eaten for 2 days. And this is not exaggeration. And then she said, well, I couldn't sit down and eat dinner because anytime I see dinner, I see the face of... And this is something that happened, probably not to my family, but to other families happen. A friend of mine left a month ago to go Maracaibo. And she sent me a message. She says, it's sad to see how poor people, children eat every 3 days. And those who get sicker or dengue die. Last week, my sister had to go and donate blood. She was the only one who could do it. The 9 people before her were completely anemic because people are not eating. They're surviving. They're eating rice whenever they find it. Bread, they invent things to...
Right. Yeah, and we saw the reports about people hunting stray dogs and pigeons to eat. So I now am understanding why those reports are the way they are. But I have a question for Ruben, who seems very good with figures and whatnot.
He does have a background in engineering. We should mention
Right? So yeah, can you give me an idea, talking about Beatrice's family and the contrast between the lower income families? What is the size originally of the middle class versus the lower classes in Venezuela?
What year?
That's a good question.
Right now, how would you estimate? I mean, okay, I guess the middle class would have shrunk because of these situations. So say 2013. What was the...
2013, I would say that Venezuela, people living on the poverty line, below poverty line, would have been about 60% or more, 65%. Then you would have 10%, which will be very well off. And then the balance, that 20%, 25%, would be you could consider yourself middle class.
But remember, we went to in the 70s, even in the 80s, we were one of the best middle class.
Up to 1984, Venezuela's poverty was just 25-30%. People who lived below poverty line.
And just to get a better idea, what is Venezuela's overall population size?
35 million.
It's like 35 of Trinidad, right there. It's huge. So 60% of 35 million is a lot of people to be in poverty. And then on top of being poor, you can't get access to things to buy even if you have the money. So that
they have no middle class anymore.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. So
has been wiped out.
They wipe out. It's just poor and the government. And that's it. And those who have money who always bend the knees because they don't really care.
That work together with the government.
Correct.
Because there's an issue. If you side yourself with the wrong faction of the government,
Yeah.
chances are you will have to leave the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we hear reports about politicians being murdered and things like this. I mean, it seems just insane that if you try to defend your point of view, then that might be it for you. Do you believe that the recall referendum to remove Maduro from office this year will be successful?
We want that to be successful.
Right.
We want that to be successful. But right now, we have to wait for them letting us to do what we're supposed to be doing. According to Constitution, we need the 1% of signatures, according to the people who vote, to get that done.
Right.
That was already done. But it's a frame time to do all that. Understand? So they have, that is what I think, they have respected the whole process right now because it is in the Constitution and everybody knows that. The thing is, according to time, are we going to get that in time? Because now the signatures are going to be checked and double checked by this part of the government, because I have to say it's part of the government. They are supposed to be, as something very objective.
It's supposed to be an independent body.
Yes,
right.
but that is a problem. So they're going to take their time. They call it the Consejo Nacional Electoral, CNE.
You have to mention also too that the laws according to the Constitution and the national election, voting election, they are very clear. The opposition had done what they have to do. Now, 2 or 3 days ago, Jorge Rodriguez, which is the head of the right, he came out with
Sorry, the head of the what?
The party that supports government.
A form.
and saying how this is illegal because they have people here who's dead and they have signed. Now, the opposition say, how could you have that? That is not into your disposition to have that.
Right.
That's for the national
Not under
board.
your purview.
Correct.
Right.
You are not supposed to. And so either you took that from them, steal it from them, or, because it's
Or they
completely
gave it
illegal.
to you.
Or they give it to you.
See what I'm telling you? It is supposed to be objective,
Right.
Yeah.
but everybody can see everything they're doing over there. So we are not sure that they're really going to respect it frame time.
They don't.
And they're going to return and say, okay, well, yeah, all those signatures, we just needed 1%.
Yeah.
So we got it in 2 hours, we got half of it. And in 3 days, we got more than what we need.
Well, that's it. That was like 200 and something thousand signatures, and we got a million or so, if I'm not mistaken. So
Almost 2
we
million.
really, so if one was not good enough,
Right.
the next one
Go
is
to
going
the
to
next
cover that.
one.
So, you understand? So
No, and the same
to make
president.
sure
yeah.
that could be done. But now we have to wait for them to decide. But the things that they are not objective, they are really all of them. They
Yeah.
have to respond
They-
to
they-
the government.
They're stalling the time because according to the Constitution, there is a time frame that they have to have. So if they don't do it fast, they say the
Restart the whole
referendum.
process.
Yeah, well, it's a stalling time. And then President Maduro came out Friday, besides he did what he did talk, and he says they're not going to recognize any effort of the opposition. Whatever they do is null and void. They will be there and they will be there. Because it's not a dictatorship. It's neither communism. We have an anarchy. We have somebody there who likes to be there and terrorize people because people don't want you. But it's just power.
And added to that is that the Supreme Court acts as the personal law office to the president. So if the National Assembly declares something and it becomes law, then the Venezuelan Supreme Court would make it null and void. They will find some way because they're acting on the president's behalf.
Which is illegal too, by the way.
So whether or not the process is in the Constitution, there's always something else, some other strategy that can be done legally to
Yes.
kind of...
Yeah.
In fact, the president, he nominated all new members of the Supreme Court soon after the National Assembly was overwhelmed by votes of the opposition.
He has to wait
Right.
for the National Assembly to come and do it.
Yeah.
He
He just
disregard
does his own
everything. He do whatever he feel like.
It's like, for example, just what happened to declare the state of emergency a deception state. That what he did. He cannot do it like that, According to Constitution, he should propose that to the Assembly. There they have to discuss it and then go back to him if they agree.
Kind of like
He
how it
didn't
would
do-
work here, right? They would take it to Parliament and they would...
No.
But it doesn't work.
Well, in a way, yeah.
Right.
it has to go to
Yeah.
Parliament and agree on
Yeah.
that. No, he just declared it and said next day have to be signed and this is it. That's illegal. They are the ones, the experts, the ones we vote to be there to just make laws, do laws. They have to do it, That is according to Constitution. That is the role of the Assembly. This is not going to end well.
No,
They're
because
they're not allowing, proper situations where,
to
no,
take its course.
they say the opposition are the one who confronting the government, but they are organizing the people every day more and more, and they're closing up the news. And the opposition is trying to be civilized and trying to take because
Democratic.
yeah, correct. They said it. We are going to do the referendum. He's coming out in a democratic way. We will do it. The whole population had demonstrated that through the election when the National Assembly, and he recognized it. That's the worst part about it. He recognized it. He recognized the assembly, but now all of a sudden they are people who want to give him hell because they want them out of they're being paid by the imperialist United States.
And they insist that what we are doing, opposition is doing, is just trying to do a coup d'etat. How are we going to do a coup d'etat if we're trying to get signatures and we're trying to get you revoked?
That is what they want. They want that bloodshed, to say the opposition is the one who's instigating the violence.
We have an expression in Spanish, pueblo no tumba gobierno. The people of Venezuela do not have
The
the
power.
military or the weapons or the military on their side that they can actually say, we can overthrow President Maduro.
Right.
Yeah, not too long ago, last week, you could see when the one of the opposition candidates, they decide to find out, well, what is going on, because we collect the signatures. It's a frame time to do this. What is going on? Why don't you do what you have to do? And he was attacked by a National Guard. And it's filmed. And what happened to the National Guard? They must be probably condecorated right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
He was.
I just wanted to add that there's been, over the last 17 years, there's been a reign of terror. I don't know if Beatriz and Ruth wouldn't remember. There was a gentleman, his last name was Ameliach, and he decided to antagonize with President Chavez. He had to leave the country.
Yeah.
So just to quickly insert right about now that T&T Unpacked does not have any political affiliation anyway. But we're not here to talk politics. Obviously, the political situation is dire and it needs to be discussed. So this is not any bias against or toward. It's simply stating the facts of what's happening. The same way that, we live in Trinidad and Tobago and we see what's happening with the government and what they're doing is the same way that we see what's happening with Venezuela's government. And you have to talk about it because it's affecting us.
It is affecting in a positive way.
We will get to that now, actually.
So, well, I just have one final question on the whole political situation to kind of summarize everything. Is this the worst? Because you mentioned that for the past 17 years, Venezuela has been experiencing a reign of terror. Would you say this is the worst state Venezuela has been in? And what sort of things need to happen to reverse that, to change that?
Yes, it's been the worst. And I can tell you, I have been through the worst. I lived through most of the 60s, I lived through the 70s, and I lived through the 80s.
How old are you?
Very old.
You look very young. You look very young.
You don't look that old.
I thought we were the same age.
No. A lot of people don't know this, but we had civil war in Venezuela up to almost the mid-80s.
Not really civil war, I will say. Dictatorship with 1950.
No. We had a civil war. The reason why I say we had a civil war is because we had guerrilla groups fighting the government. It went on up to 1983. How we got it to stop was that the chancellor at the time, his name is Aristides Calvani, cut a deal with Cuba. So Venezuela started giving cheap oil to Cuba, and Cuba in return stopped sending weapons to the Venezuelan guerrillas.
Right.
And this is how we got to pacify the country.
Castro's act expressed personally, Venezuela will be part of Cuba. And in 1963, they invaded our shores in Venezuela. But by that time, Fortunately, the army was not signed by the government, was a army that's supposed to be defending the country, and they pushed them back, and some of those guerrillas went back, and they put them in jail, and whatever. Some of those guerrillas now are ministers, and we know that. So, you see, this is it.
On that note, so I mean, I'm learning so much today. I'm not a political person, so I mean, I know that there's obviously had been a relationship between Venezuela and Cuba, and a bit of a weird relationship between those two countries and the rest of the Caribbean. But in terms of the army, the defense force, you call it defense force.
The army, yes.
We've seen a lot of reports of soldiers using excessive force with civilians. And we've also seen, heard indications of reports that soldiers are abusing their authority to get access to goods and services, when civilians have not been getting that access. Have you all heard any stories from friends or families that this is indeed the case?
That is completely normal. It's always been like that.
The last one, it was recently when they went to check about the signatures and what's going
I'm
on.
looking for it now.
You could see it just a student from UCB, Universidad, he was just telling the reporters, and it says, just revocatorio, to revoke Maduro's mandate. And he was talking to the reporters. A national guard came, take the pamphlet from him, and took him
To jail.
by force to jail. And everybody saw that. What happened to that guy?
We don't know.
I mean, this is hard for me to understand because I actually
It's very
love-
hard, yes.
I trust the army in Trinidad and Tobago. When you see the army, okay, you're safe. And obviously there's corruption everywhere. But there's always a spirit of, they're there to keep things in order, law and order. But it seems like at the time when Venezuela needs law and order to be enforced the most ever is when the army seems to be promoting the chaos and contributing to the chaos rather than trying to institute the law and order in the country. So who is really maintaining? Like you said, there was that incident of a theft. Who is maintaining anything?
Absolutely no one.
No one.
If you read the last numbers, Caracas is listed as the third most dangerous city in the world. The second most dangerous city is Barquisimeto, which is also in Venezuela. And the first most dangerous city in the world is San Pedro Sula in Honduras. You're looking at a country where there's no respect for human life. People in Caracas or in Venezuela die by the thousands. Not by the hundreds, by the thousands. Venezuela's murder rate is 80 murders per every 100,000.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I
think it's insane that I did not know that Caracas is the third most dangerous.
city.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
By 6 o'clock, people are already in the house.
Yeah.
People have been doing that
For years now.
now.
It's been a state of emergency.
Curfew, go in your house at 6 o'clock and
Yes,
people have been doing that for a long time.
you should not be on the street after dark.
Right.
That is a no-no. Not in Caracas.
Not in Caracas.
Not
a
in
city
Caracas.
where I grew up, dropping my friends 3 o'clock in the morning after clubbing, and then going home. You can't do that anymore.
Just to give you an idea, a couple of years ago, when clubs were allowed to operate all night, young people who would go out clubbing, what they will do is they would arrive at the club at around 8 in the evening, and they would leave the club at 6:30 in the morning. But the reason why they would leave with sunlight is because they are trying to avoid getting mugged or getting robbed or getting killed.
Now, make it simple. 8 years ago, my father died. And I was in Trinidad. And, it's cultural, but in Venezuela, we are not like in Trinidad. You could have the dead person for 15 days if you want, and then bury. In Venezuela is 24 hours. You die today, tomorrow you bury, whether you like it or not. My father died, and obviously they kept a little bit the body because of me flying from here to Angola. Those days they had different airlines. But to me, what I was more horrified about was that they have funeral homes in Venezuela. It's culturally whole night with the body and the family and whatever, like a week, right? This is actually is one of the oldest funeral home in Caracas, and my father was there. To my knowledge, they held a little bit the time because they were waiting for me. But as I arrived, everybody will say, my sympathies, whatever, and I see everybody leaving, and I'm like, what is going on? Why everybody's leaving? And I see the guards starting to lock the gates, and what is going on? And then they had to explain to me that in Venezuela now, before it was open, whatever time you wanted to come, you come. By 12 o'clock, they had to close the gates and they had to close the funeral home because people are coming into and stealing and robbing you and mugging you, whatever. I was horrified because I never thought that we would reach to that point.
So how easy is it for someone to migrate to Trinidad from Venezuela? Is there some sort of refugee status that they use as far as you know?
Well, it used to be very easy, but now it's not. Apparently now they ask them for if they have money, and I hear that you need to have certain amount of money to come to Trinidad. When you reach to customs or immigration, they ask you how much you have. Because, well, I guess they need to have people with money to pay for. It was very easy, but now it's very hard. And immigration had been harder for the past 3 years or more than that. But last 2 years or 3 years from the change of government, extremely hard.
Yeah. But, I mean, to me, this, just from my personal observation, the community seems to be growing a lot faster, a lot bigger than it has been.
Well, let me remind you, when I came here in 1978,
Right.
the community of Venezuelans was big anyway.
Right.
Because a lot of Trinidadians do not know they are half mixed Venezuelans. That is the truth. Everybody, or the majority, has somebody from Venezuela. So the community was always big.
Right.
At those days, yes, they have the problem like now, like always, with prostitution, the crime and so on. Well, we have it in all nationalities, right? Never mind, they always have that immigration because middle class people always prefer Trinidad because of the closeness and the language, the English. I mean, I came here because my mother sent me to learn English. I still can. But that was the reality. I came here because they sent me to learn the language because it was the proximity, because, it was cheaper. Well, sometimes you have
Cheaper
a friend.
than going to the States.
No, it was cheaper to go to United States.
Really?
But
Okay.
yes, but it was closer to, and you always have a friend from Trinidad
Right.
because there always is a reference to come to Trinidad.
Right. There's always been a relationship.
Always. I mean, he could tell you, he explained to me in the 70s and the 80s and the 30s, people used to know Trinidad because, well, people went to work, like how they went to Panama, they used to go to Venezuela for the oil. And then after the 70s, during the Black Revolution, a lot of families migrate to Venezuela. The whole families migrate to Venezuela. I realize the proximity, the links geographically, historically. The Trinidadians do not know how close we are in terms of history, cultural background, geography, phone, and every aspect that you could think about. Chacachacari was owned by a lady called Luis Arizmendi. Luis Arizmendi. She's one of the wives of one of the General Arizmendi who works and fight with Simon Bolivar for independence of Venezuela. She owns that. Chacachacari was owned by that family. She owns that. That was personal to them. But, I mean, the history, I could tell you, we are very close by.
So Venezuela and Trinidad are a lot more close than people realize.
It's just because, you were colonized by the English.
Right.
Then that barrier came into.
The first one was Spaniard.
But even the laws, Corpus Christi is still in place because the Spaniards, that was what the Spaniards decided at that time. Well, please keep it because, it's more than what you think,
Right.
So it's a sad thing that.
And what you ask about the refugee status, it cannot be done. I've tried even that with my mother for let them to stay here, and they say no. They do not. Still, Trinidadians do not know how bad the situation is. So therefore, if you try something like that, it's like you are tricking them into something. They are not believing what is going on.
Okay, so they think you're just trying to get people across in some underhanded way.
Exactly. That's what they try. They think that you try that just to, because they don't see as refugee. No, the situation is not that bad. So and that is why you see people coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out.
So you will need, so we did hear that what's happening is that, a lot of Venezuelans will come and they'll purchase things and they'll go back, but then sometimes they might stay. And then to achieve that refugee status, to allow people to come in and just stay, you would need the cooperation between the Venezuelan embassy.
No. Venezuelans
They
are
will,
nothing
they
to
will
do with
never,
that.
they will never
Government
allow that.
of
They will
Trinidad
never
and
support
Tobago.
that. That will happen if the situation get a real, like a bomb. Yeah, there is a civil war.
Oh,
It
like
is
a
declared.
natural disaster.
Natural
or
disaster,
something.
civil war,
Okay.
something like that they really can corroborate. Yeah, that is happening. So we cannot.
No, actually, if you look at the figures Venezuelans, they have their natural places where they would like to migrate or where they have been migrating over the last 10 years. One of those places is Florida. It's essentially the United States. In the United States, there are currently, in Florida, there are 250,000 Venezuelans living. Then in the rest of the United States, you have another 200,000. The other country that compares to that type of population, to that size of population, will be Spain with 150,000, and Panama and Portugal.
What about Colombia?
10,000.
10,000, yes, not much.
But the selection, the most appealing area of the world for Venezuelans to go is Florida.
Yeah.
United States overall.
Overall.
Yeah.
Do you know what's the population of Venezuelans in Trinidad?
I would say, I'm not sure, but if I remember correctly, the last census that was done by the embassy was like 10,000.
Okay.
10,000.
Yeah.
That's big for a small island.
Yes, it is.
That is what they have,
Officially, yeah.
Yes, non-officially. That is what they have, 10,000. But if registered, that they really have gone to the embassy and they really, when we are going to vote, how many? 200, 300 people. I'm not saying 1,000.
Yeah.
200 to
300 max.
That's it.
Yeah.
Those are and the ones who really going to vote is half of it.
Right.
That's it. But imagine the population, that is floating is 10,000, but non-officially.
And well, going back to what I was telling you is a pity. I understand that yes, you have to have a night and you have to protect your people. But then again, in this, they don't see it as a humanitarian crisis right now. But I believe that anybody who could give my country benefits is welcome. Because the majority of people are migrating are middle class people, professional, people who are willing to work in any field or in the field if they find a job just to come out from Venezuela because the situation is terrible. So back to what I was telling you about the immigration in Venezuela, that's how we was. I mean, because a lot of people came and they put the input, the good one, you have the bad one, and that's how you develop. But unfortunately, Trinidad is small, as you say, and it's not too much work for everybody.
But when you look at the contributions that Venezuelans have made to Trinidad and Tobago over the last 10 years is a lot more than what has really been taken out.
Can you give us some examples?
Well, the largest developer of this country is a Venezuelan.
Exactly.
Justin and I met a Venezuelan engineer who is now working as a bartender on the Avenue. In terms of the community and your connections that you have, are you meeting a lot of professionals in that position, or are professionals usually able to get good jobs when they come here?
No.
You see, there is essentially what happens is that in order to secure a job in Trinidad and Tobago, the company that is offering you a job needs to submit an application for a work permit. So it comes back to the issue of what comes first, the egg or the chicken, because there are a lot of companies who would want to recruit Venezuelan engineers and Venezuelan professionals, but they would always ask you, do you have a work permit?
Right.
And how do you get a work permit? The work permit has to be applied by the company who wants to hire you.
Yeah.
It could happen no other way. And then, of course, you have the Ministry of National Security that has a work permit committee, and then you have to show that there is a need and that no one in the island is actually qualified to have that job, and therefore that is why they would issue you a work permit.
Right.
And it become a bureaucracy and become nothing, because the main thing is that sometimes I know a lot of people who wants to come to Trinidad, education field, medicine, we do have Venezuelan doctors in Venezuela, in Trinidad, by the way. A lot of people want to come here and start, but all those protocol issue.
All the red tape you need to go through.
Yes, and then, but you have to think broad. Because if you have doctors coming here in the beginning, they're going to be working in the hospital. The other doctors are going to benefit from the experience of these doctors. So you will, in a way, move on, and more experience and more jobs will be created, because eventually these people will get a company and employ people to work.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it, That is the law they want to protect. But right now, it's very tough. Extremely tough. Even for people who are working right now here with a job permit, they have, as you say, a committee. They don't want to issue any more working.
Just to give you some food for thought, if you account for all the foreign exchange that Venezuelans have in foreign banks, Venezuela could pay their foreign debt 3 times. So by creating this unjustified phobia and not allowing Venezuelans to come and invest, you're not really doing anything.
Exactly.
Because the Venezuelans that are going to come here, yes, you may get all forms of migration, but the Venezuelans who are going to come are going to come to invest. They're not going to come to look for a job.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
they already have money. And they're looking to expand their business or they're looking to relocate their business.
When they leave Venezuela, they're trying to, because it's middle class who are living and they have the money, but they want to do something, something in a new land. The people who do not have money cannot leave Venezuela. They don't have the money.
No,
to
that
live
those are people that
Yeah.
the low-income people will not be able to get rich in another country. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. In a way, it's a phobia. As you say, not to call it xenophobia. Trinidad is an island that could be, is a big island, and they have resources like the oil, like the gas, something that we do have a lot of technocrats and professional experts in that.
So in other words, we should sort of be more open and more welcoming.
More welcoming.
Of
right?
immigration.
Yes, more welcoming. And that comes with part of the culture, the education, the interests of the governments in the past. That they see Venezuela as commodity in the sense right now they're looking to do a deal with Venezuela because of the gas.
Yeah.
Just to put it into perspective, Venezuela has had, from early childhood to tertiary education, has been free over the last 50 years. It's just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
So in Venezuela, you have a lot of qualified people. Jesuit schools, which allow you to transfer your credits from Venezuela to Stanford University or any of the top universities around the world. You have very good law schools. In fact, I have a very good friend who studied at the Jesuit school in Caracas and did his master's in law in Tulane University.
Wow.
It's unfortunate that there's going to be all that red tape, but we know that the situation is very dire right now. So maybe over the next few months, maybe they might adjust the status situation. We know about the rumors of Venezuelans kind of sneaking in on the boat over. Is that a real? That's a real
Yes,
thing?
that's true. That's a true story.
But
I have.
that would be a very small percentage.
And by the way, let me explain to you how it is. It's the same thing again. It used to be somebody who's carried from Port Spain to Wiria, from Caracas traders to Pedernales or whatever. She no longer Venezuela, no longer. Now it's a Colombia who has the business.
Right.
So it's not secure. It's something like, I will not do it. 60,000 Bs these people get. And they bring you across, and twice a day, they bring you across, they take you back, and then whatever. I don't know exactly how it is. They just come. Those people are low-income people, by the way. And they bring whatever they could bring, and they sell.
Yeah.
And they go back.
It's interesting because this is something that people joke about a lot. They say, yeah, we'll go to Caracas and we'll take a boat to Venezuela and come back. So we're not really too sure how much of it is true and
It
what
is.
That is true.
It
That
is
is
true.
true. That is true. People can you can see from Icaco cities, you can see Venezuela is just right there,
Right.
and plenty people come there. Some of them pass through immigration because they have an immigration post there,
Right.
and some of them really try to sneak, like you're saying, but people have to pass through there
Yeah.
to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And when you say things like, for example, they come to sell things to go back, bear in mind that these things that they bring in, they are things that they have home. We are not bringing food. We're not bringing, because that is what people, what are they selling if you don't have anything?
Yeah.
If they having jewelry like gold, these kind of things that people know that in Venezuela or Colombia, they are good quality,
They think ours
or musical instruments, things that they can carry that they have in their house.
Yeah.
Come here, try to sell to the tradarians.
For $100.
Yeah, less than the real value, just for them to get the money. And then they will say, oh, and they change it into US. Not all the time it's like that. It's just to get the TT dollar, purchase groceries, and just go back to Venezuela. It's like coming to do groceries. They come to the supermarket and then they go back. Because this is the closest one to do that.
And geographically too, because the proximity and also the lack of authorities. Because they have a CIDRAS, custom and immigration.
We know our
Exactly.
boundaries.
Exactly.
Do you all have any sort of statistical data on how many people will be doing this and how often it happens?
Well, twice a day, right? You said twice a
Three
day.
times a day.
Twice a day, right?
The boat come here and they live certain, like in a week, twice. Because I know a guy who is taking the boat tomorrow, and then the other boat coming the Thursday. So it's like, like you have some time. You spend like 3 days and then go back and then go ahead, and that's the
And how, I mean, not to get into too many of these specifics, but it's just I'm curious to know, like, what kind of boat is it? How big is it? Is it dangerous?
No, there are some of them who have some commodities, because I have people who have traveled there, and of course you have to pass all the laws according all the regulations according what kind of boat or so the ones who pass through the immigration post is serious. Now the other ones that sneak around, I don't know how secure, how really, but these ones, they have to, according to immigration, they have to be covered, not so big, I would say 50 people,
right,
but no more than that.
Okay.
We know, just because we live in the US, so we've seen the community growing in areas like Woodbrook. But to your knowledge, are there any other communities around T&T South in San Fernando? Is there growing?
Yeah, but the majority are working people that works in the oil sector.
Okay.
And some of them comes to and they work as professional, probably working in a restaurant, cleaning, babysitting. It's sad, but that is the situation. And sometimes people demand, I want to get somebody who can be my babysitter so my children can learn the language. So it's a demand also.
I need to learn Spanish, actually. Myself.
Actually, talking about the refugee states, United States have a refugee state for Venezuelans now. By the
Do
way.
you know when that was implemented?
Since last year. People could have go to the embassy and in 3 months they get a green card. Okay. And I know people who do it. Now, because of the Cuba and United States relationship, now is the same thing. Children of Cubans, citizens, they get also the green card. So a lot of Venezuelans, parents or grandparents were Cuban, they get in that benefit also. Whatever job you get, you're happy once you're here because at least you get.
According to the minimum wage, right? So in a week, like for example, if a person gets 150 TTs, right, per day, let's say. So by the end of the week, by Saturday, they have 100 US. You take that.
That's 100,000 or a million?
100
100
US.
US.
And 100,000 Bs.
Somebody needs a calculator.
100,000 Bs because the change is 1,000 US for
Okay,
one US.
100,000 bolívares fuertes, a very high placed professional, a director doesn't even make that kind of money in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Wow.
You understand? And in 6 days, you can make that. Washing a car. Just packing in a store.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I don't know any trainees who are aware of that. We just have no clue.
They do. You're being aware now. We have been doing this for 17 years, by the way.
I was in Venezuela last July. All I had to change was $15 US to be able to move around and buy and eat out almost on a daily basis for like 3 days. $15 represented something like it was like 20,000 bolívares.
Yeah.
In the airport in Caracas, I'm talking about Maiquetía, in the international airport, they actually had cases where the National Guards are actually checked and search people for US.
Wow.
Even people, I have the experience in 2013 when we went by boat from Pier 1, Chawaramas to Wiria.
You sound very Trinidadian right now.
Yeah.
Really?
When you first started talking, I was like, wait.
You switch accents.
From Chawaramas to Wiria, immigration people in Venezuela. Do you have US? You have US dollars? Give me the dollars. You have US dollars? Come on, give me the dollars.
No,
Was that-
look, can I change it? No.
No, give
I
it
was
me.
gonna say they changed it for
No,
you.
no.
And I was like, look at me. Do you think if I have money, I'm going to travel by boat? Really? I'm a poor person here. And even if I had it, I mean, why? They're asking you to
Yeah.
give them money.
No.
It's terrible.
Have you visited Piarco Airport lately?
I have.
Have you seen those gentlemen that they prepare your baggage for traveling?
I
And they
haven't.
wrap
Put
it-
up in the tape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's so popular when you go to Venezuela? Because once it goes on the belly of the aircraft, chances are they're going to open it up
Oh, okay.
before it goes to the
Yeah.
belt.
Right.
Before you pass through immigration and customs. So people, for security reasons, they will wrap it up. To guarantee that at least they will be able to get whatever content they have inside their bag.
Yeah.
And sometimes they open it. Don't matter if you have wrapped them, because down there they have a wrapping machine also, and they wrap them back.
They wrap it back. Kind of like when you open your Christmas presents and wrap it back.
Correct.
We spoke about the fact that there are a lot of undocumented Venezuelans living in Trinidad. Do you have any examples of individuals running into problems or getting deported or anything like that?
Actually, the word would be immigrants without a legal status.
Right.
And I would say that will be a very small percentage because those who may come in and stay a week, 2 weeks, a month, they would be under a tourist visa.
Right.
And that ensures them that they will
3 months.
at least 3 months.
okay.
They
3
could
months
be
in
here
China.
at least for 3 months.
Yes. Sometimes they
And
work.
let me tell you, it's not to defend my people, but every time, at least me, when I see them, I try to advise them. So be intelligent, be smart. If you want to come back, leave in the time it
Right.
says in your passport. Because it's very sad to go to Aripo Detention Center and to see all those people, just because, and people tell you in your face, I don't care. I don't mind. I prefer to stay here and be in a jail that are going to give me food than coming back to Venezuela. So imagine how we are reaching to the state
Yeah.
of desperation. People prefer to be here in jail.
So like, I know a case of a girl who was pregnant, and she came for prostitution, 23 years old, and the immigration held her. Obviously, she was in jail for a year and something. She gave birth to the baby here, and in the meantime, a Venezuelan family had to take the baby to mind the baby for her. It's very sad. I mean, that's something that breaks my heart, because I told the person I would have fight not to let that child go back, because it was extremely poverty. And the child had to go back to Venezuela. And what kind of future, what kind of life that baby has? I mean, the shock of 3-4 months being here, well fed, well cared, go back there. I mean, it was those things happening, eh?
Yeah, and I think even though it's small, like you say, it's good to to just
Advise
avoid
them.
anybody running into those kinds of issues.
Because that is the idea, and the idea is to create awareness to Venezuelans and to Trinidadians as well. When we are here, what Trinidadians have to understand, we're not here illegally.
Right.
Immigration allow Venezuelans to be here.
For 3 months.
You understand? At least for 3 months. And right now, they're just allowing 1 month and 1 month because, of course, before we were, Venezuelans, they bring in money. Now, Venezuelans, they do not have money. We cannot lie anymore. So they're just giving a month. And that depends on your ticket, your return ticket. Because some people buy it like for 3 months for them to be allowed for 3 months. And that is tricky. You see, as soon as immigration see 3 months, it's not 3 months. Less than that.
How easy is it for Venezuelans to assimilate, in terms of assimilation to Trinidad, getting accustomed, being accepted, being able to work with Trinidadians in the bar that I mentioned before with the engineer from Venezuela? That particular bar has like only Venezuelans working there.
Wow.
It's like 6 or 7 of them.
But let me tell you why. I'm not talking bad about Trinidadians here. But the service, you
Trinidad
have
don't
not developed that. That is one of the problems. The main problems here is service to tourists.
We do have a customer service.
No, I don't.
At all. People think that if you service them, it's like you being, like
Subservient.
right. So they understand it the other way around. So why Venezuelans or people prefer to get the opportunity to Venezuelans in this case? Because we have that. We know how to do that. with not a problem, with a smile. And on top of that, because we know how the situation is in our country, we must retain the job we have.
Yeah.
So if we have to smile and we have a terrible pain, we don't care because we need the job. And that is why. So that is it's so easy on that matter. You understand? That people to assimilate, yeah. They tell us to do that, yeah, we do this.
So,
and we find people treat and saying, no, because Venezuelans come here and they take away our jobs. Hello, we do not take away. You let that happen.
Yeah,
You don't do it.
No, this is something I wanted to tell you. There is a lot of opportunities in Trinidad, but people don't grab them. So they forward that somebody coming and invading. That's what I have since 1978. I mean, now they changed the word invasion, but it's a mentality of, I guess, information, lack of education and exposure to other cultures that we now, I say we because I'm living here longer than ever in my country, we now experience from people are traveling and meeting other people and having restaurants and having cinema and having the commodities that Trinidadians didn't know anything about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That is the truth. So we hope that improve.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of why we wanted to do this podcast, especially because I think there's a total lack of awareness.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of Trinidad, but at least for us.
Yeah,
you know, we,
sure.
yeah, a lot of the things that you guys touched on, we had absolutely no clue about.
Yeah.
And of course, we are not defending. We cannot tell you all the good people are the ones coming from Venezuela. We don't have X-ray vision, and we cannot tell, immigration people, no, these are, no. We know that whatever it comes, they can be good people or bad people.
Yeah.
But I assure you that it's more middle class who are trying to make a better living, a better life, trying to get family, support the family, because that is the thing. They coming here, living alone, struggling,
Contributing.
for the country, but they're sending the money across.
Yes.
You understand?
Almost
So it's a lot.
Almost every Venezuelan worker that I've met in a bar or restaurant says, I'm an engineer by training, but I'm doing this to send money home. That's the main
Or
thing.
after the 3 months go back with the money.
Because they've been able to assimilate so well and are such hard workers, we haven't really had any reports of discrimination or any bias. Have you, through the grapevine?
Depends on where you go. I don't think in a place like one you might get that type of people who will actually abuse or treat somebody, because it depends on the level.
Right.
But if you go to downtown, Port Spain, and they see you different and they see your accent, you might get one or two people who call you Spanish or whatever, give you one word.
Yeah, but not even in a bad way. Spanish.
No,
señorita,
depends,
those kind of
depends,
things.
on-
Sometimes some people
And the
but a little
perception they
bit
have.
the color.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, but I don't even mind, because when they tell me whitey or whatever, I just laugh, because I
Yeah.
don't consider myself white. I'm not pure white. I'm Latina.
Right.
So, but here the color is an issue. So, but for me, it's not
No,
like that.
in Venezuela,
going
the
against-
color is not an issue.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break from the podcast to let you know that if you're interested in being featured or would like to advertise with us, you can reach us at unpackedmedia@gmail.com, and you can also find us on social media. Back to the show. And Trini's always talking about Spanish woman.
Oh, Ruben, you quiet. This is what I'm coming to tell you.
Nothing better than a Spanish
Yeah,
woman.
that's a bad perception of Latin people. Well, I will tell you something. This is my personal view. I'm married 35 years with a Trinidadian. And what I will tell you from my experience and from my responsibility as a wife, as a mother, that is a pride. So you're not going to let your husband come out from your house with a shirt like this. You have to let your husband come out well-dressed, iron. Your house must be nice. Presentation, because that is part of the culture. Venezuelan, we take pride in what we do, and especially if we have a family, it's very important the way how you carry on and how your husband look like and it's the truth. So if that is bad, well, I'm bad.
No, well, we see that in like Miss Universe competition.
Oh, well, that is
Americans are always the front.
No, it's part of our culture. It's part of our culture. That is a pride that Trinidadians. I will tell you, because I'm living here longer, and then, oh God, but you, why you clean so much? That is part of the culture, to be tidy, to be clean, to have the house well put, table well done. When you have receptions in your house, you try to impress, not because you want them to think that you are rich, but because you want them to feel comfortable, because that is a way of service, it's cultural. We like to imbibe, we like food, is a main thing for Latin people, not the Spanish.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is it offensive that we refer to Venezuelans as Spanish?
I always correct Trinidadians for that.
Yeah.
It's a language. We speak we speak the language, but we are not
But
Spanish.
it's not, exactly.
Yeah, you cannot call an Egyptian Arab
That's true.
because they speak Arabic. So it's the same thing with we rather than call us Latin.
So Trinidad, this is a call. We need to stop saying Spanish woman referencing.
It sounds like classifying. And then
If they change the lyrics, they should say, I want a Spanish-speaking woman. Now, that's different.
And then the perception that Latin American are hot in the other content, that is another thing that personally I'm very offended.
Hot as in sexy or hot as in passionate? Hot as in sexy?
Sexy
That's
and
not offensive. That's offensive. I think
no, but not in that sense that
Oh,
sexy or
okay.
passionate. In more than that.
Okay.
Gold diggers? No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No. In a way.
It's not right.
So it's kind of like gold diggers. Where?
Yeah. I mean, they can't help it if they pick up the wealthy. I mean,
No, I know a lot of people who.
There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, they have a lot of Latin people right now, not from Venezuela, but that they are married to Trinidadians just because they need to stay in Trinidad. They're no Venezuelans, by the way.
Yeah, but everything is from every woman is from Venezuela.
Everyone.
Yes.
Once.
They're from Ecuador, they're not from Colombia, they're from Venezuela because they speak Spanish.
Yes.
That is
we
how
all are.
that's how us as Trinidadians we generalize that way, because that's the culture, that's the Latin American
Closest.
culture that we are most familiar with.
Yes.
And I had a friend from the Dominican Republic, and it was a struggle for her too, because she would get offended and we just refer to her as like Spanish or Latin or whatever, and she'd be like, no, like I'm Dominican Republican, and it's different from somebody from Venezuela or somebody from Colombia, and to us it's all Spanish, but it's the same thing.
Yes.
But I mean,
No.
It's like the equivalent. Like, for example, if you tell me you're from the Caribbean, so I say, oh, you're from Jamaica.
Yeah, I
and
was about to say.
I couldn't differentiate. I mean, so,
Yeah. No, yes, the accent. And that's another
and that
thing
happens.
too.
That happens. When I was in Miami, everybody would ask me if I'm from Jamaica.
Jamaica, because that's what they know.
Yeah.
Jamaica or Barbados, you're right.
So I apologize to all of you
Thank you.
on behalf of Trinidad.
Like in Europe, they don't know Trinidad, but they know Tobago. What serious?
Germany.
Or Tobago.
Tobago, Italy, especially in Italy.
How can T&T nationals help if they want to? Who do they reach and where do they go?
I would like to give you all the information about this group, probably when we are more formed properly to do it, because we will actually come out and ask companies and individuals or places if they could help us in a way. But right now we're trying to structure how we getting all those things to Venezuela. I mean, personally, I even told the person if I had to travel monthly, I will do it.
Right.
Because it's not a matter I pay my money. I helping my people right now is very critical, and is humanitarian. Mainly it's a humanitarian work we had to do. So
last week, they called me and they did an interview by phone. And one of the people who called said, but why don't you ask the Red Cross, the church, to help you out? Those are the places to go and help Venezuela. I say, the thing is that 2 years ago, when in 2014, and we tried to form something like that because we were saying they're in need of food, they're in need of medicine. And we asked Red Cross if they could help us because of the situation was getting worse and worse. And what happened is, it's not that Red Cross doesn't want to help. They want. But the only way Red Cross can intervene in a situation like that is either a natural disaster or
Also.
a civil war. They cannot do more than that because that is,
it's international.
it's an international,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
So they cannot go like, okay, we're Red Cross and we're going to send.
Yeah, they have
Government
no
will say,
authority to
no,
intervene
no,
at this
Not
point.
at all.
Right.
So people are trying, like, there are ways. And the other one would be church. But then lately,
Yes,
we
that's
have
a
heard
campaign too now
there is
for
a
the church.
campaign against the Catholic
Catholic
Church.
Church.
Against. They are trying to make the Catholic Church being seen like a bad thing. I would say that 90% of the population are Catholics.
Yes.
And the Catholic Church is there with the poor. They're trying to help.
They're paying actually the people. They are paying them to discredit the Catholic Church, to say things about the Catholic Church. Because that's part of communism. That's how the communism works, right? I mean, my country is a different kind of communism. It's our Kalalu. in a way, right? But it's part of it. The government of Trinidad obviously will not send supplies to Venezuela because apparently nothing is wrong there for them. My daughter is in Italy doing her master, and from there they gather medicines to carry to Venezuela. A whole actually suitcase of medicine. It was a group of people that get together from different parts of Europe, and they had some girls who came from Spain, and they carry a lot of things. Unfortunately, when they arrive in Piarco, they take away everything from them because you are not allowed to bring medicines to the country from another part of the world. So we lost like about a big suitcase of supply of medicine. Well, I mean, they send whatever they could send. And then in December, through the Catholic Church, it was a movement of different countries where they were asked to send things to Venezuela. Many people came from different parts of Europe and United States and South America, and they bring and they distribute it amongst the needy. Because in Caracas, fortunately, you still could get a little bit more supplies, but in the interior, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Closer to Colombia, it's horrible.
It's horrible. So, but then that is why we ask Trinidadians to be very patient and to do a lot of prayers for us. The situation is getting bad, from bad to worst. So when they see that we are coming in and out, it's because we come, we do our groceries, and we go back. That is one of the closest countries where we can, depend on about food and medicine. And we want the people to be aware of this, to be patient. We want this to be over. We want this to be over. We want to come back, but me, I'm crazy to come back. I love Venezuela, but it's going to take longer because once this person is not in power, it's going to take years.
Yeah, no, you could develop a country in years, but to destroy it, it could take a month.
Well,
And to build it back to what Venezuela used to be. Self-sufficient, I mean, is impossible.
We definitely appreciate your message, and we hope that everyone pays attention. We've been very enlightened, I think, in this episode. Just because we haven't heard Ruben's voice, I really want to get in the last question with him, because he did touch on this earlier. We've talked a lot about the state of Venezuela and what led to this crisis, and there have been a few comparisons and parallels with our own country. Do you see a possibility for T&T to go down a similar path with our state of corruption that's been a huge issue and our difficult distribution of wealth? Do you think it's possible that we might end up in this situation?
Yes, it's quite possible if the measures are not taken on time.
That's it? That's all you're going to give me?
Well, I'll give you a very simple example. In 1989, when Venezuela was faced with just 4 weeks of foreign exchange to cover imports, and the price of oil was in the single digits, we were able to put together a group of policies that allowed growth to be in almost double digits for the next 3 years. So it is possible to do things and to improve your position as a country, economically speaking, but you have to take very strong steps, and they have to be measures that need to be put in place. The proper policies have to be put in place, and if you don't make those decisions on time, you will probably end up going the same way. I mean, it's not rocket science. All the macroeconomic variables are pointing downwards. The only thing that is actually favoring Trinidad and Tobago is that it has strong foreign exchange reserves. But once that's wiped out, what else will you have?
All right. Well, thank you very much. We will take your words.
Thank you.
Just want to thank Beatrice,
Thank you,
Ruben, and
Justin.
Ruth for you guys have sacrificed time.
There's no
And-
sacrifice for our country.
yeah, for our country, that's nothing. We would love to go more.
And I think, we should do our best to keep the conversation going. Like you said, like all of us have said, we need to keep building awareness of the situation in
Yep.
Venezuela and keep thinking of ways we can help.
Yeah.
Hopefully the country will turn around and build back up.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
It will be very hard, but not impossible.